In 3, 2, media source. Four people. But one of them is me, so 3. Yeah, and then I would play it on here, but it's on a delay, so it wouldn't help us. Oh, snap. Dude, hey, it's $40 a month. Yeah, exactly.
And we are live, baby. Hopefully everything is good on the audio side of things.
I can hear you, but who knows if they can hear you.
And I can hear you. So at least the conversation between us will be good.
At least it's being had, even if no one hears it.
Yeah, it's kind of like the tree falling in the woods thing, though, right?
Yeah, I think that's been our podcast for most of our time.
What do you think about the logo?
I like it, man. I like it.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it's simple, but I dig it. I like it better than the round logo.
Yeah. And I actually like, for the round logo, basically, I just found a splatter PNG and then found a film reel PNG and just stuck them inside of each other. This one I actually made it. Yeah. So I feel like it looks good. I made a couple different variations of it. You know, we got it as a little watermark down where the video plays, which is kind of cool. But been a kind of crazy week for me. I guess anybody that's been keeping up with the live streams knows that we went through a little bit of a natural catastrophe. So I don't even care to talk about it anymore. I'm freaking burnt out on it. What have you been up to?
Well, I definitely haven't been fighting off the apocalypse. I've just been working and watching movies and playing video games, pretty much as being a bum.
To be fair, though, I mean, we're all kind of fighting off different forms of the apocalypse.
Very, very true.
Yeah, what are you playing?
So I've actually been trying out the Xbox Game Pass streaming because I don't have an Xbox. It's only $14 a month. Streams to Android. So I wish I had it with me. I have big Bluetooth controllers that I put on a tablet, and I just stream to it, my tablet. I've been playing Halo. I played a little bit of Recore. I mean, it works surprisingly well. Like enough. It's $15 a month, and it's for me worth it. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll get $15 worth of use out of it.
And then there's a new Stadia coming out as well. Some shit you showed me about, huh?
Well, then did you see they just announced Amazon today?
No.
Amazon's doing Amazon Luna for $5 a month with 100 games on it.
Oh, really?
Or $6 a month, something like that.
And does that seem like a good investment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the price will go up. But here's my thing is I buy a ton of video games a year. So unless I'm spending $300 a year, $400 a year, it's probably going to save me money.
I just now was reading, trying to find some sort of movie news earlier as I was kind of going through the docket and found out that it looks like one of the film festivals, Tribeca Film Festival, is bringing video games into the fold and having a category directed to exceptional or excellent storytelling in video games.
I love it because that's why I play video games. I don't play any multiplayer. I love the art of storytelling. So I read comics, I read books, I play video games, I watch movies, anime, just because I like storytelling. So that's exciting to me. Granted, it feels weird in a film festival. I feel like video games are totally different medium. So
yeah, how do you screen a game? I mean, do you just show the cut scenes? That feels like it's very reductive of what a game is, you know?
It's going to be like a Twitch Let's Play.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I'm into the idea of it. I really do think that the future is an amalgam of the two mediums. It's crazy to think how much bigger of an industry gaming is than
Oh,
film.
way bigger. People always, it's funny, like when I meet people still, because the stigma is still out there. You'll meet people like, you play video games? And you're like, yeah, it's way bigger in industry than the movies or music you listen to. So
Yeah, it's really crazy to think about, and I guess because it still feels niche to older people, but I think it's been a part of people's lives for so long in the younger generations that it's by no means like got that kind of lack of credibility, I guess that because when you look at a game like Metroid on the 1989 or 1988 NES, like to me that was a very like expansive game. It had a cool storyline to it, but like very rudimentary. And now like there are no limitations as far as the kind of stories that can be told and the kind of visuals used to go along with it. So like it feels like this is something that should have been a long time coming in a way.
one of my problems I have right now with the video game industry, though, is they're on this weird thing to like legitimize themselves where they're like, no, we're real art. You know, we'll show you. We'll make
Yeah.
a movie of us. We'll make a TV show. I'm like, you don't need to do all that. You're already crushing it. You know, like video games, a lot of times people will be like, this would make a great movie. I'm like, no, it wouldn't. It'd be a horrible movie because sometimes the experience of going through it yourself it's a totally different medium. You
Yes.
know, and it's there's things that won't translate.
So if you were gonna like give it to a game, I think I know where you would go with it. If you were gonna give it to a game that's come out in the past 2 or 3 years, as far as exceptional storytelling, who gets the award? Who are some of the nominees? Fuck it.
I mean, definitely, even though I had a lot of problems with elements of the story, I have to say you have to do Last of Us 2.
Mm.
Um, I don't know, it's been too long, but Bioshock Infinite would be another one with exceptional storytelling. Oxenfree, a little 2D graphic independent game. Oxenfree, Firewatch. Honestly, it's kind of like, I feel like video games fit the point where it's kind of like film, where the big budget stuff is fun, but the really interesting, cool stuff is kind of happening in that indie space.
I thought you were gonna give me the samurai game.
A perfect example. That game is like a 9 out of 10. Love that game. I think it's incredible. One of my favorite games of this entire generation. That would be one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
How come?
It's the story is not why that game's good.
Okay.
It's the combat's tight, the world's expansive, it's the way they handle waypoints, it's all these cool little game things. It's my game of the year by a mile. But the story, like that's when I think back, I'm like, yeah, parts of it were cool, but I didn't get moved through any of it.
That's an interesting kind of discussion to have. Is if a story doesn't make a game great because of things like the mechanics, things like the graphics, all of these kind of things, does a story necessarily have to make a film great? Can you have a great film without a great story?
Blade Runner 2049.
Okay. Yeah, I tend to think you can. I mean, or something like Buried with Ryan Reynolds, where he's in the coffin the whole time. I think there are definitely really cool ways of telling a good story without the story itself being all that intricate.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I there's a ton of movies that pop in my head, like Drive. I don't think that necessarily the story of Drive is that great, but the presentation is so wonderful that I love that film.
So I think it's time to switch gears. I've been wanting to ask you about Cuties ever since I saw it come up on Discord. So get ready for the dislikes to come flooding in as you start to talk. Talk to me, man. What did you think about it?
Well, I took one for the team. Cuties was a film that I actually had no desire to see, but I figured it was so relevant that I'm like, we kind of got to talk about it.
For me?
Huh?
You did it for me?
For just us in general. I'll follow the sword.
You're all right. All right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So also I'm one of those firm believers of, in order to criticize something, you have to be intellectually honest and actually watch it. Um, so I'll kind of give you a rundown of the film, what the message of the film is, and then what I guess the implications of it, I guess, would be. So there's going to be some spoilers in here. I don't think anyone's rushing out to see this. The film follows a young girl from a family from Senegal who's now living in France. Her mother is a traditional Muslim family. Her father's actually out back in Senegal finding a second wife to bring with her.
Oh, okay.
And she sees how it's affecting her mom. She sees her mom crying about it and all that. So in a rebellion to this culture, she sees these young girls. And then when I mean girls, this movie's hard to watch. These girls are like 11. They are girls. They're young. So she sees these young girls who seem to be free and carefree, and they are hypersexualized. And she starts to go down that rabbit hole. She starts becoming obsessed with like Instagram and YouTube videos, like rap videos. There's a music video in it. I don't even know if it's a real one that she's watching that could be like a Cardi B video. It looks just like it.
Okay.
And she starts to emulate that behavior. And she starts to do these hypersexualized dances, not really understanding all the implications because they're kids, they're babies, they're 11 years old. And ultimately, by the end of this ends with her going down this rabbit hole of hypersexualization. Like, she posts a picture of her vagina on to social media. You don't see it, but you see her put a camera down.
Yeah. Right.
And she posts it to social media. She does this hypersexualized dance routine that you've probably seen clips of. Actually ends with her breaking down in tears and the crowd booing and covering their kids' eyes.
So real quick, because I haven't seen it, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I do find the whole concept to be extremely fascinating. Not so much the concept of the story itself, the fervor surrounding it. And I do believe there are valid arguments on both sides, but with that taken into consideration, within the confines of the story, does it show the way that boys or males react to the lead character?
No, it's actually kind of unbelievably absent. Like, it's actually not about males at all.
Okay, and I think that's an interesting thing to realize is sexualization. This is maybe a little heady, but sexualization comes from a historically male perspective. Sexuality is something that males possess and females possess. Sexualization really only ever refers to females, and it's actually a term that was coined by a male psychiatrist in the mid-70s or something like that. Mm-hmm. And without getting too actually about it or too preachy, because I don't know all of the implications of it, but I do think it's important. These girls might not even know, outside of the context of people respond to it, the people that I look up to, this is how they act. So I'm emulating that at such a young and naive place that maybe it's really not even about sex to them at that age.
100%. I think you're spot on. Now there are things like it shows a girl who starts, it's implied that she like is bulimic, that there's a heavy set young lady who's bulimic in it, chasing this thing. Essentially the whole message of this film, it's a girl running from a very traditionalist family, thinking, oh, this is more alluring, and kind of realizing by the end of the film that like both of these are extremely, extremely toxic. And both of these are not healthy for women to be involved in. And essentially it's a criticism of culture and how everything we do as adults then filters down to kids. So by these music videos, yeah, it may not be the intended audience, but they do get their hands on it. So I feel like there's two questions that need to be answered when talking about this film. The first one, is it condoning it or condemning it? Obviously, anyone who watches the film, it's clear as day the message of the film is condoning the sexualization of children, seeing how harmful it is.
Condemning it.
Condemning it. Yeah, thank you for the correction. Yeah, it's clear as day by the end of this that everyone is condemning it, and saying that this is not acceptable behavior and it's extremely harmful for children. I feel like that is 100% accurate. It's 100% what the point of this film is. I feel like the second question that needs to be answered is, by making a film that is against exploitation, did they in fact exploit children to make that message?
And was this where it gets interesting. I would love to hear your thoughts on it.
So for me, I feel like this would have worked well as a short story. The problems I have with the film is they put this imagery right in your face. Like literally, they zoom in on young girls' butts and crotches and all this stuff. And I get the point of it is to shock you and say, look how disgusting this is. Like, I understand this point. I totally get what they're doing. It's like when some directors show overwhelming gore. There's people who glorify it, but there's people who use it to like go, isn't this horrible? This definitely does the latter. It's definitely saying isn't horrible. But by doing that, I personally don't feel comfortable with the act of recording young girls in these sexualized positions, even though ultimately the message is anti-sexualization. I feel like these kids were almost sacrificed for the message.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting. And I mean, I can draw so many parallels to this, but to keep it on focus, where we're talking about this specifically, is the filmmaker. This is, according to her own admissions, her story. I don't know how close to an autobiography it is, but she said this is things that she was navigating. This is similar to her experiences, and she did kind of want to expose how much societal pressure is put on that and on young girls, and all of these things are valid, just like what you said. But then does the ends justify the means? Separate from the question about the morality and the ethics, did you think that it was a well-done movie?
It's actually honestly kind of forgettable, besides the shock appeal of it, and just the like jarring nature. Like if this were a film about adults navigating this, you kind of forget it. The only thing that makes it memorable and have any sort of guttural impact is the fact that it's hard to watch.
That sounds like exploitation to me, in a way, and not necessarily. That sounds like exploitation to me. And not in the traditional sense maybe that people are thinking of, but as far as genre filmmaking, like I look at something like Cannibal Holocaust. On its surface, it's a reprehensible movie where you watch not only, simulated rape and violence and all of that kind of stuff on camera, to prove the whole point of the movie is this documentary film crew goes into the Amazon jungle, and they, almost like how Jake Gyllenhaal does in Nightcrawler, they manipulate the circumstances to create the narrative that they want to. So the actual savages are the people that go in there, the filmmakers. But the director himself exploited the tribes as well as killed animals on the set of the movie, proving kind of that he is the monster that he's pretending to condemn in the movie. So it's this interesting thing of like wanting to have your cake and eating it too. If it weren't for the controversy, nobody would have seen Cuties. So do you think that ultimately do you think that it comes out that more young girls are going to see this and it have a positive impact? Or do you think there's going to be more pervy old adult men who might have pedophilic tendencies that are going to be aroused by it? And then it's like, does the ends justify the means, right?
It's hard for me to say, because as a normal, sane human being, I assume most people who watch this, I don't know how you can't watch it as anything but a cautionary tale. I'm sure there are horrible people out there who will use this for disgusting reasons. Watch this film. But I'll tell you something that actually this film caused me to do. This film caused me to delete my Instagram.
Oh, this is the reason.
This is the reason I went off all social media. And I'll tell you my logic behind that. For anyone who doesn't know, I have a daughter myself. And I don't want her to watch her father on social media constantly looking at Instagram, even though I look at comic book pictures, but I still don't want her to think this is acceptable behavior. And then she gets a phone, and the first thing she wants to do is get on Instagram. Like, this was a cautionary tale of social media. One of the things that's one of the themes in it. There's a lot more, but that's one of the themes is like, hey, like social media is damaging for a kid. Kids shouldn't be navigating Instagram, shouldn't be happening. And so this film made me delete my Instagram, made me go, you know what? I don't really want my daughter seeing me staring at my phone. And then her growing up to think that's acceptable. And then that leads to this. So I do think there are good that can come out of it. I mean, that's a small thing. But the reverse of that, would I ever allow my daughter to star in this film? Hell no.
Yeah, right.
That's so ultimately, if I have to make a judgment call, here's what I think. The movie is clearly against the sexualization of children. However, I feel like you could have done this even as a film with less gratuity, and it could have been just as effective. And ultimately, I fall on the side of, I really don't think this film should have been made. That's ultimately where I land. Even though I agree with the message, I think the message is actually pretty. I think most people who watched it would get the same message. I think it's something like 72% of people who actually watched it said, "Oh, the controversy was overblown."
Oh, yeah.
It's like almost, that's a lot of people. But it does feel a little exploitation. It does feel exploitation in both the cinema meaning and in the actual meaning. It feels both of them.
Yeah, I can see 100% where you're coming from with that, and I appreciate you falling on the sword for me, because that is one movie that I won't have to watch. And not that I'm morally against it. It's really not been a matter of that. It's just like, fuck, dude, how many days in the week are there to watch movies? Because I gotta.
Well, and to be straight up with you, dude, there are some scenes that are like really like, ooh. There's some scenes where you're like, I would like, is this a film I would recommend you go out and watch? No, personally, I wouldn't. It's not a very good film. And ultimately it's hard to watch.
All right. Here's another question. What about if it were boys? And obviously we would have to change the themes just a little bit, but what if it was, we see a young boy turning into teenagers, adolescent boys becoming young men to the 10 to 12 range, and they get free reign to do and say whatever they want, and nobody cares about it as much. Is that just fundamentally the difference, like just the difference between girls and boys?
Well, yeah, I feel like we both exploit our daughters and protect them more at the same time.
Yeah.
So we don't care about boys being sexually active. It's why when you hear stories about like teachers sleeping with teenage boys, you get, not everyone, but you get a reaction like, good for him.
Yeah.
Those people. Like, no, she still took advantage of a child.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there would have been way less outrage, though. I feel like there should be equal outrage, though, had there been the film, because a child's a child.
Yeah. It's interesting. And then something that kind of ties similarly into this is that Comic Book Resources just recently published an article by a guy named John Mendelsohn, who basically said that it was why Stanley Kubrick never lived up to his true potential, which outraged me, just the title of it in itself. It's like, how are you going to say that one of the greatest filmmakers alive that's accomplished some of the most almost perfect works of film didn't live up to his full potential? But then I went on to read the article, and there's really a conversation to be had about this different in treatment of how you should be able to manipulate actors to get the performances that you want out of them. It's interesting because in the case of Cuties, it happened right on top of this whole thing about babies' lives matter and the QAnon conspiracies about 800,000 kids coming up missing every year. And so this feeds into this narrative that Hollywood is predatory of young children, while on the other hand, a lot of those same, I don't want to overgeneralize, some of those same people with that value set will also say, Stanley will take the stance that I just now said. Stanley Kubrick is a genius. Stanley Kubrick shouldn't be censored. You can't impose your standards onto them. So I do feel like there's always a little bit of ideological inconsistency when it comes to people's belief. It's like, does it affect
100%.
you well, then you might feel differently about it. So that's just something I was kind of thinking about in lieu of those two things. And then also that movie that we touched on just in conversation separately, The Social Dilemma, which I'd imagine also kind of reinforces this idea of like, I don't want to live online.
Yeah, So anyone who hasn't seen Social Dilemma, it's a great documentary with horrible, cheesy little scenes in it that could have totally been taken out.
Yes, should have.
It should have been, yeah. But it's, I already had deleted it because of Cuties, but then watching The Social Dilemma really enforced that. Especially, again, it went into like preteen suicide for girls was up like what, like 170% or something. Unbelievable number.
Tragic, man. And it's tough. And I think a big part of the dilemma, especially for content creators, is like, how can you possibly talk out both sides of your mouth and be like, social media is bad, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram, blah, you know what I mean? So it's just difficult times to navigate right now. And I think we're all just trying to do the best we can and figure out the balance between privacy and being willing to be public, and what that line means to people is totally up to their own discretion. I personally am kind of in the camp of like, my information's not as valuable as the other 100 million people's information that you have. So like, I ain't all that worried about it, but out of principles, I definitely see how it's problem.
It's, for me, it's not even my data that bothers me. You can take whatever you want, whatever.
Yeah.
I talk on a podcast all the time. Like, my opinions are out there. My information's out there. For me, it's a mental health thing. For like, I'm like, this is just, it's not healthy for me. Ultimately, and I'm finding more time to do things, more time to even just watch a movie or read a book or spend time with my daughter, all these little things, or even being present during the moment instead of checking my phone.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so much to be said about that. Just going out of town for a couple of days and not having access to it, and then what you get forced to do is like so much more of a fulfilling thing from time to time. But everything's about balance. And with that said, we're going to switch gears. And we probably should have led with the fun stuff, but I guess
yeah, I know we were real heavy at the beginning.
We hit them hard, man. Make sure they're loyal and that they stick around. Now we're going to cut up and enjoy ourselves talking about some of this week's non-news, because, man, there really wasn't a lot going on outside of a couple that we found pretty interesting. First of all, let's kick things off with the Godzilla attraction in Japan. How did you stumble upon this?
So I actually just Googled movie news.
Okay.
Nice. And this popped up, and I'm like, I love Godzilla and Japanese cinema. So in Japan, they have a life-size Godzilla attraction where you can, I believe, walk through the mouth of it.
Sorry about that.
What'd you say?
I said, sorry about that. I just now realized, dude, we have the chat going off, and I was looking at the wrong section. Holy shit. All right, real quick. Let's try to catch up real quick. Thank you guys all very much for stopping by to check this out. Ian Kamishiong, what's up, my bro? I didn't see you until just now. We're doing good. Let's see. Patrick Stewart. Let's see. Mark McKeever in the chat. Got a couple of mods in here. Story is key for video games. Got to scroll down. Oh, Random Andy's channel was in here. Glad you were here to at least hear part of the conversation. Wish we could have got you. Wish we could have got the comments as we were going through this stuff. Let's see. Caleb, do you see all this stuff now?
Yeah, man, it's a lot.
Nerd Zero, my longtime friend, somebody I've actually never collaborated with, but became friends with because of the YouTube platform. He was a reactor. Nerd Zero on YouTube, $4.99 super chat. Thank you, my friend. Love you, and can't wait to see what's next for you. If you guys are not subscribed to Nerd Zero, make sure to head over there and do that. He was like one of the first mentor kind of figures that I had when I started coming up and doing this stuff years ago. So when he hit me up and said he might be getting back into the space, I was like, hell yeah, I'll help in any way I can. That's super awesome. Caleb, have you ever met many people through YouTube?
Yeah, I've met a couple people online, but like not out here. The only person I met in person is Larry from LC Screen Talk. He's a good buddy of mine. I actually need to go hang out with him because we used to go see like anime movies in theater and stuff, and we've done a couple of videos together. But then like online, I've met a ton of people, but yeah,
Me
no
and
one
you.
I've actually met in person.
Yeah, no doubt. King of the Hills 34, thank you very much for the super chat. I'm at a nephew's soccer game, can't watch, but I wanted to show support, so here's a super chat and a like. You are my dude. Thank you very much, King of the Hills 34. One of the Team Terrible MVPs, absolutely. I'm really glad that he found his way over here. Chat moderators, Random Andy's channel, my brother, Mark McKeever. Let's see who else is in here. MN Comic Books, I see ya. Let's see. A lot of conversations going on. Sorry, I can't get to all of these. Ian Commission, I don't support it per se, but I feel people have a right to attempt to get a message out as long as the kids are not actually hurt. Well said, Ian. Ian and I go way, way, way back to high school days. So it's always good to see him around for sure. And he's got children of his own, so he's got skin in the game as far as that goes. Mm-hmm. McLovin says, I need my sleep, Jeremy. Well, dude, I appreciate all you guys coming by. As I was sitting here looking at the live chat through the certain YouTube studio window, there was nothing coming through. And I'm like, damn, what happened?
Neither was mine, even for either. I had to like refresh it once you said that.
Oh, I'm so happy to see you guys in here. I didn't know what happened. I was going to blame it on the algorithm or the alcohol or something. I don't know, but I'm really glad you guys are in here. So, Caleb, there is this Godzilla life-size attraction coming to Japan, and it's Shin Godzilla. How do you feel about that?
I mean, Godzilla's Godzilla, as long as it's not the 97 Godzilla.
Okay. So you're as long as it's Toho,
yeah,
it's fine. Good with you. What about Legendary?
I'm fine with all of them.
Yeah,
I'm fine with all of them. The only one I don't, even the American Godzilla, now that they made it part of the lore, that it's like a different Godzilla, I'm even okay with that.
When they throw him in Final Wars just to fucking dominate him, dude. Yeah. I love Godzilla. This is something, it's one of my nerdy fandoms. There's a couple of things that I'll just get super excited anytime it comes up, and Godzilla has, for a very long time, been one of those things for me. I don't think all Godzillas are created equal. I'm a big Heisei era guy myself, but then I also love the Legendary movies. The Millennium series is good, too. That's when you get from, like, Mega Inguaris to... Giant Monsters All Out Attack to, I'm going to mess this all up. Tokyo SOS, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Anyways, I like all the eras except the old shit. Like, I don't like the Showa era stuff when it was super cheesy. Nah, man, not my thing.
Oh, man, I love it.
Do you really?
Yeah, it's so bad, but I love it.
Okay, so Japan is taking its Godzilla obsession to a gargantuan new level. This Hawaii Island anime theme park is set to unveil a life-sized attraction revolving around the legendary monster's head and upper body in 2020. Okay, so we're not getting a full replica of Godzilla because that would just be too amazing, but you're getting the bust of it, and it's like a tunnel that you enter.
I would take it. This, like, I went to, was it Diagon Alley or whatever, but I'm not a Harry Potter fan, so it didn't do anything for me. This is something that I would love to go see.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. And it looks like it's 65 feet high, 82 feet wide, and 180 feet long. The exact same proportions from one of the films about the beast. The ride is dubbed Godzilla Interception Operation, and it'll be the first ever 2-scale permanent installation inspired by the superstar kaiju introduced in Ishiro Honda's 1954 classic Godzilla. I wonder what kind of ride it is.
I don't know. I thought you just walked through it, but it sounds like it is a ride.
Let's see.
I thought it was like a haunted, like you just walked through it, which sounded perfect because I'm a chicken. I don't like rides.
Fast ones though, right? You're just talking about you don't like fast ones.
No, yeah. I don't like big boy rides. I need something that I can stand.
Did you watch the 3 Godzilla animes on Netflix?
Of course, man.
You like them?
Yeah, I thought they were solid.
They were solid. It's weird. It's very hard for me to look at them as like part of the Godzilla thing because it's the first time Toho had ever done that kind of animation before.
Mhm.
But I really like it. I really like the like Earth-sized Godzilla, and
I like where they took the story. Like,
yeah,
it was an interesting spin on it. But that's how I feel about all Godzilla. Like, I'm a bad person to ask because even bad Godzilla is still called Godzilla, so I'm like not that critical of it.
yeah. Let's see if anybody's got anything to weigh in about the Godzilla. I hope. Let's see. Jeremy told me to say something about the Godzilla attraction. So, 30. I don't know, man. If it's a like a Disney World style ride where you know go through it at a reasonable speed, and there's like all sorts of effects and animatronics and all that stuff going around you, even if it was like miniatures like the movies, I would be all for that. But like a roller coaster, why does it even need to be Godzilla themed at that point, you know?
Yeah, you can't see anything. That's the type of rides I like the tram at Universal and stuff. Like stuff you can actually see and take in
Yeah,
the atmosphere of. That's the fun part.
same. Yeah, I agree, man. And I'm not afraid of roller coasters. They just tend to make me feel like shit the rest of the day. Like I'll get
I'm
motion sickness.
terrified, and I get motion sickness. It's all bad.
So I don't know. This is definitely a bucket list thing for me. I would love to go and check out the Godzilla theme park ride.
Me too, man.
So in addition to that, whoa, something's going on in the chat. McLovin, do me a favor and message me. Let me know what's going on.
The show must roll on.
Yeah. I can't get too wrapped up in that. Hopefully everybody's staying positive and spreading good vibes, and that's the most important
That's
thing.
what we get for starting on a heavy note.
Yeah, 100% right. That was our bad.
Well, on to a good note. The trailer for WandaVision came out.
Oh, did you just say onto a good note?
Yeah, well, a good note. I think interesting note.
I'm intrigued. All right, so what do you think about? You watched it, obviously.
Yeah, I watched it the day it dropped. So because this is a comic I read parts of, I started it and fell off because I read too many damn comics. So I was excited to see him go this route. You know me, not really a Marvel movie fan, big Marvel comic fan. I haven't been excited about anything from the MCU universe in a long time. This is the first thing that makes me go, oh, this kind of looks intriguing. Just looks different, which I'm all here for.
Yeah. So that's the big thing to you, is that it just looks like not another MCU movie. What about the nods to classic television, like Dick Van Dyke Show or I Love Lucy? Is that stuff that you are a fan of?
I mean, it doesn't bother me because that's what that whole comic was going for. I kind of dig it. Like, it doesn't bother me at all. The one thing I do find very weird, though, is they've completely made Wanda American now.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching and I was like, wait. I'm like, so she's just as American as they come now.
Maybe in this fantasy world so there's a lot of a discussion about whether what we're seeing is from Wanda's perspective or Vision's perspective. What do you think?
I would say Visions, I'm guessing. But I don't know where the movies are at. I don't know where the characters are at.
Yeah.
So I have no idea. It's to me talking out of my ass.
So Vision's dead, but not dead. I mean, he's an artificial intelligence, right? So he got killed by Thanos at the end of Infinity War. And then because he's artificial intelligence, it was already alluded to that they would probably be able to bring him back. So I'm wondering if, because he is Tony's artificial intelligence, or was developed by Tony, maybe all of the history of pop culture had been uploaded into his memory banks, and now that he's not able to be with Wanda, he's like creating this idealistic scenario in his head. A lot of people think that this is Wanda's broken psyche and that all of this stuff is happening inside her head. To me, that sounds less probable.
I would say, yeah, I'm saying right now, he has no physical body. It's gone at this point, you know? He's just trapped in a mainframe computer trying to make sense of it.
Oh, man. Look, if you guys are moderators and there's somebody in here that's being abusive, just fucking ban them. I mean, don't kick them out of the community, but just ban them for this thing. And if we'll get to the bottom of it later, but yeah, sorry to even get into the negative stuff. All right, so I like the imagery that we saw in WandaVision. I think it looks kitschy, but it also feels like it's like appealing to my parents' generation.
I got like Truman Show vibes.
Definitely that. Agreed. Or also, you remember that movie Pleasantville that Tobey Maguire was in?
Love Pleasantville.
Okay, I've actually never seen it, but I know that it's like this very 1950s idealized world, and as they start to be exposed to like truer, more raw emotions or fall in love, the color starts to come into the world or some shit.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Is this a Disney Plus show, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So do you have Disney Plus?
For now, and it's because I'm holding out for WandaVision and for Captain America or Bucky and Winter Soldier.
Okay, because I'm like, for me, as much as I'm like hyping this up and I'm excited, I'm not gonna watch it. You know, I'm not gonna go buy Disney Plus for it.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. My wife and I keep being like, oh, so are we gonna delete Disney Plus or unsubscribe to Disney Plus? And I'm like, maybe. Like for right now, I don't. Yeah, because there's nothing on it that I'm watching right now. Like I finished The Mandalorian, and I'm not even as wild about that as a lot of people are. It's good. It's good. It just didn't grab me in a real like I'm driven to have to see what happens next or anything kind of way. But I've been holding out for the Marvel television because this is the first Marvel Studios TV series that's ever come out. You get what I'm saying about that?
Yeah, like it's not the Netflix version. It's an actual one from Marvel.
Yes. So same showrunner, Kevin Feige's attached to it, same cast. Looks to have a comparative, I mean, the budget looks good because the effects look good.
Incredible, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm interested in it. I actually wasn't going to put it on the docket because I wasn't sure if you were even going to, like, give a shit to humor it. So I'm glad that it looks at least interesting to you.
As soon as the trailer popped up, I watched it. I was like, oh, this is something that is kind of exciting to me.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, that's cool. That's cool. What else is going on? There was another... Oh, okay. So there's been a lot of talk for a long time about the Snyder Cut. There was a lot of conversation by many, speculating as to how close to being finished this movie was, and that there was already a finished version that was ready to be shown. In fact, I think Zack Snyder may have said that there was a finished version of the film ready to be shown. Well, lo and behold, Collider just now released an article yesterday that said the honest-to-goodness actual Snyder Cut flew at all of us fast and furious, but one sticking point stayed consistent throughout social media movement, and that's that Snyder's vision was ready to go before Whedon came in late to the film's production period. A snuffling out of singular auteurs' planned and prepared take on the material. Do we need to spend $20 million on post-production efforts to make a 4-hour miniseries work? Sure, but the footage is all there, ready to go, except... Oh, so per The Hollywood Reporter, Snyder is indeed preparing reshoots of material for his new Justice League, including returning performances from Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, and Henry Cavill, and somewhat controversially, Ray Fisher. So it sounds like now that it's getting to the point where he's actually got to produce and come up with this Snyder Cut that he said that he and others have said existed. They're giving him $20 million for reshoots. At first, I was thinking, damn, like, for $20 million, you can put a lot of computer-generated imagery on the screen. But if I'm thinking about how many cast members they're having to bring back for the reshoots and then wondering what that contract looks like, what do you think these reshoots are going to be?
So, first of all, I don't know if they were lying when they said it was done, because when done, he was talking originally about a film, not a 5-hour miniseries.
Right.
So it could have been done, and then they're like, hey, we're making a 5-hour miniseries. It's like, well, I need to pick up shots, this, and this. This scene would work. First of all, it's probably going to go over 20 mil. They're probably going to come in over budget. Who knows what it could be? I mean, I'm excited. I'm here for it. I'm definitely going to sign back up for HBO Max just to watch this and then cancel it. But I mean, it could be anything at this point.
Yeah, I'm so curious about the Snyder Cut. Like, I didn't like Justice League. I think I like Zack Snyder much less than you do, but I think I'm, of the people I've spoken with, one of the most pro Snyder Cut people that I've spoken with, just because it's just weird. We've never seen anything like this before, and I'm fucking interested.
Oh, I'm so interested. First of all, love Zack Snyder. I'm one of those people unapologetically love Zack Snyder's work. I totally understand why a lot of people don't like it. I love it. Justice League was bad, though. Like, really, like, unwatchable bad. So because of such the weird situation, we never really get to see a director go back after something like this is happening, because this is not the first time this has happened. Someone's been like thrown off a project and all this. It happens quite often, but this is the first time that I can think of where they're able to go back and complete their vision with new shooting. Like, that's pretty unheard of, and that alone is exciting to me.
It's more than just completing their vision, because now we have the luxury of hindsight. That Monday night quarterbacking thing where Zack Snyder has seen the praise and the criticism of the 1.5 hour cut. Supposedly they were doing like a 4-hour miniseries, 4 or 6 1 hour episodes, something like that. And so obviously it's not a lack of footage. Obviously they want to reshoot or add context stuff. So I imagine a lot of what we're going to be getting is going to be character work, which, if I'm honest, and I don't know, maybe you have a different view on it than I do, but I would bring in a second unit fucking director to do the character stuff and let Zach do the action and the explosion-y stuff, because I've never had a strong emotional attachment to a single character in a Zack Snyder movie.
So I like Zack Snyder's character work, but it's different. It's all visual. You know what I mean? Like, little things like Batman waking up and grabbing a bottle of wine. It's like, oh, hey, we're going to tell you about this character without saying a lot. I think it's interesting the way he does. Totally get why it doesn't work for a lot of people. Personally, I don't want a second unit director, because then it kind of defeats the purpose of doing this whole project.
100%. Yeah, being more hyperbolic than serious, because typically second units are the ones that do the action and shit anyways. It's such a weird situation to be in, because I just don't know, man. I feel like there's this whole big hoopla about Ray Fisher at this point. Maybe he wants to build out Ray Fisher's character more, because that was the original plan, is that he was supposed to be like the core of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know Snyder and Fisher have talked about how Cyborg is the center of the Justice League.
No doubt, yeah.
And I don't know if that's where they're going with it. Here's my thing is, even if it's train wreck, or even if I love it and you hate it, or verse, I just want to see it at this point.
Random Andy's channel, $5 super chat. Here's to the movies, the greatest art out there. Agreed, man. Agreed. Thank you very much for the super chat and all the work that you do for the community in general, man. We always have your back, so I appreciate that. Let's see. Yeah, literally just say anything of substance to anybody. I don't know. I'm curious to see what we're gonna end up with. At the end of the day, it's gotta be an improvement. Oh, like, in what scenario does this end up being worse than Joss Whedon's vision?
In the way that the people who loved Whedon's version, that's the only way. Like, if you absolutely hate Zack Snyder, guess what? You're gonna hate this. Like, you're gonna hate it. If you love Zack Snyder, you're probably gonna be more likely to love it. If you thought Justice League was a massive improvement over Batman versus Superman, you're probably gonna hate this. If you thought Justice League was a major downgrade, you're probably going to like this.
It's interesting because I like the extended version of BVS more, even though it's just more of the stuff that I wasn't really wild about in the first place, but it has context. And I think that's the most important thing is like he has a whole overarching vision and you can't just cut it off at the fucking shins and then expect it to be, fully functional. And I think that's the biggest mistake that they made with Justice League is trying to reconfigure it into something it is not. They tried to make a Zack Snyder movie, a Marvel movie, and that was a fucking mess.
It was a mess because it wasn't a Zack Snyder movie and it wasn't a Marvel movie. So I don't feel like people who love Marvel love Justice League. I don't feel like people who love Zack Snyder love Justice League. It was this weird. It wasn't successful in either way.
Yeah. No, that's tough, man. It's such a weird situation. And then all this stuff coming out about how Joss Whedon was an asshole. And I can't fault him for that. This whole situation had to just been so crazy from because you've got the person who shepherds you through the process. The director is supposed to be your point guy for everybody on the cast and crew. The director's vision is what everybody's trying to make happen, and then 75% of the way through, and they switch it up on you. And here's this new guy whose vision that you have to. It just seems like it would had to have been a nightmare for everybody involved.
From what I can tell from all the actors, they all seem super loyal to Zack Snyder. Like the way Jason Momoa, Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, all of them, the way they talk, Ray Fisher seems very loyal to him and not to Joss Whedon. I mean, granted, there's all the allegations of Whedon that have gone on for years about him being hard to work with. I don't know the guy, but that could be it, or it could just be, man, we put our heart and soul in this project, and when they pulled Zack Snyder off, it felt like they ripped the project out from them. So it's hard to say.
Yeah, I'm still very curious to see what happens with it. I know that they planned on bringing Darkseid into it. He's in the trailer. Like, I don't know, man. It's interesting. It's something I'm very, very curious about. But
they brought the Steppenwolf design from BVS because Steppenwolf's in BVS.
Yes.
I was so happy to see that. I'm like, okay, cool. You brought back your original design.
That was such a weird choice that they went the other way with it, and it looked terrible.
So bad. It looked like a bad video game character.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, let's go ahead and switch gears to this week's last thing on the docket. And after we do wrap this up, we will take a minute to check out some comments or questions that you guys have in the chat. Hopefully, we got some good stuff in there. But for the time being, we want to transition into our conversation about this week's movie club title, Once a Gangster.
So, this was a film I was super excited about, mainly because I am a fan of Norton Chan, the lead actor. Big fan.
Okay.
You've heard me talk about Biozombie, which if anyone's never seen Biozombie, it's incredible. It's a zombie comedy film that heavily influenced like Shaun of the Dead and the like. So I was all in. That's the whole reason. I saw Jordan Chan, I was in. What did you think of this film?
All right, so for those of you guys that watched it, we want you to sound off in the chat section as well. The thing is, going into it, I feel like if you're not a fan of 1990s, in particular Hong Kong cinema, then a lot of the stuff is going to be completely lost on you, and I imagine that's going to affect your viewing experience. For me, it felt like if Scary Movie, or I don't even know, because that's a little bit of a disservice. It's like Airplane of 90s Hong Kong action movies. So it's obviously a spoof, it's a parody, and it's very broad in its comedy, which I think is actually probably an asset when it comes to people from other countries, because a lot of the specific shit is going to get lost on them. One of the characters' names is DiCaprio, dude. Like, how much more on the nose for Hong Kong cinema fans would it have to be for you to be like, oh, okay, so this is definitely referencing, like, Infernal Affairs. Yeah, and there's a lot of that throughout the movie. I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed watching it. the momentum doesn't necessarily continue throughout the movie, but there are several chunks from beginning to end that I really, really liked about it. So all in all, I had fun watching it. I certainly don't think it's a great movie, but what do you think about it?
So I ended up on the totally opposite end of this. I hated this movie so much.
Okay.
I felt like I got what it was trying to do. It was trying to spoof triad 90s, early 2000 film, which is a genre I love. Like Infernal Affairs, I think is spectacular. But I felt like it failed so bad at its humor and at its parody that it actually just kind of turned into a bad version of what it was parodying.
Yeah, I can see that. See, dude, there were a couple of things in it, though, that just really fucking killed me. Like, I wish I would have written down more specific scenes, but at the beginning when he's, like, training all of his triad foot soldiers and just the vacant expression on their face while they're just eating the bread was hilarious to me. Like, the little things. And then he says, how did you cook that chicken? Yeah, he digs the chicken up out of the ground and it's like covered in mud and then wrapped in leaves. And he's like, are those the same leaves that you just had your dick on? He's like, yeah, it's for the flavor.
The one part I did think was funny, the character, even though it didn't hit all the time, I just think the concept's funny, of the undercover cop that is so bad at being undercover and so loyal to being a cop that everyone knows except for his idiot triad boss.
Yeah.
That I thought was a fun concept. Yes. I don't know how well it was executed. The concept itself is hilarious.
I like that guy, the triad boss. I thought he was pretty fucking funny, and he dressed exactly like somebody from the late 90s, early 2000s triad crime boss would look. I do hear what you're saying, though. And I felt like some of the comedy worked a lot better than others, but like as far as action sequences, fight scenes, choreography, good staging, any of that, they went the other direction with it as part of the joke. Like they definitely did some weird shit with the frame rates and like stopping and pausing and zooming on certain characters. A lot of stylistic stuff that I felt like it wasn't trying to be a good action movie. So when you say it became the thing that it was parodying, I never thought that it had the budget or the technical prowess to be able to even do that.
So I've watched a lot of these like triad films and those like slow frame rates and all that. That's in a lot of these movies. And so that's why I felt so much of it. Interesting fact, I didn't know this. So this is directed by Felix Chong. The interesting fact is he actually wrote Infernal Affairs.
What?
1, 2, and 3. It was a screenplay for The Departed.
No shit.
That's kind of fascinating.
Wait, who is though?
The director of this wrote
Infernal Affairs.
1, 2,
what?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Because it does like a switcheroo thing at the end of this movie, but it's so silly. Like it's definitely not. It doesn't check out. It's not like it was leaving breadcrumbs all along. But remember at the end when it turns out that they had been co-conspirating the whole time.
Yeah.
Because the one was like a born-again Christian. Bro.
It's weird. You describing it is so much funnier than the actual film itself.
Let me see what notes I took. I know I wrote that I wish I had the hair of every single one of the henchmen. Like,
oh, bro.
All the Chinese...
The coolest.
Dude, for real. Like, do you go to a salon to get that? Because my barber just cannot give me like that crazy, like fringed in the front and then like spike, almost like a Karen haircut.
Dude, you know my barber kind of gave me Karen. She like shaved the back of it. And look at this. Look at this Karen thing I got going on.
Dude, you could be a triad member.
Dude, I got a little bit of triad Karen hair going on. So I could either be a triad or I could call the cops on random people. One of the two. You don't know.
Yeah, dude, you could be an embedded member of the triad who actually is a Karen in disguise.
that's our plot twist. That's our screenplay we're writing right now.
Let's see. I said I enjoyed the cast, especially roast pork. I like
roast pork was the lead guy, right?
Roast pork was the lead guy. Yeah, the old kind of incompetent guy. I really like Kerosene, the previous Don. He was fucking funny.
Yeah. Kerosene was one of the better ones I thought in it.
It was there was one scene in particular. Oh, when he was trying to get a loan at the bank.
That is actually, I think, one of the strongest scenes in the entire film.
It's so fucking funny, dude. So funny. And he's like, "Don't you know who I am?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're the leader of the triad. But that's not gonna help you. But maybe you can do this package or whatever." I like that.
It definitely, though, I feel like this is one of those things. If you're not into Chinese humor, this is gonna be real rough.
Oh yeah.
Like, I like Chinese humor.
I was slow to want to watch it, dude. Like, I was like, fuck, I gotta watch this fucking...
like, damn, Caleb was a stupid, weird movie.
And I watched like the first 10 minutes of it, and I was like, oh no, I can get into this. And then about 30 minutes in, I'm like checking my watch, you know, and I stuck with it. And like I said, there's definite highs and lows in it. I like the music a lot. It's very traditional to that genre, with a lot of it's almost like a spaghetti western theme, with a lot of huh in the background. You know what I'm talking about? It'll be like, huh. Yeah, dude, they do it on Cobra Kai all the time. And it's, dude, are you watching Cobra Kai?
No, you keep telling me to. So does my brother. And it's like, I have no desire.
All right. Oh, dude, another funny visual gag is when he, at the very end in that almost like the final showdown, he's running at the person with a Molotov cocktail.
The fire scene.
He fucking throws it, and the wick just drops onto the ground. That shit was so funny.
And then he unintentionally burns and murders the man.
Yeah, man. I laughed a few times, but I felt, you know, what you were saying about a short film earlier. Like, if the whole premise of this is just to do a send up of 90s triad Hong Kong action movies, and they even addressed that at one point about how Hong Kong's not its own nation anymore or whatever. Now it's a part of China. Like, there's some meta shit going on in it that I kind of enjoyed. But on a scale of 1 to 5, I'm giving it a 2 out of 5.
Giving it a 1.
Whoa,
a generous 1.
Damn, cold blooded.
I really didn't enjoy any of this. I literally didn't laugh the entire film front to back.
Man, see, if we would have been doing like an out of context Once a Gangster, we would have been laughing, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, no, this would be great for that. Speaking of that, little tangent, I watched the live-action Parasite, speaking of out of context, based on the anime.
Oh, okay.
Pretty solid. I don't know if I would love it more if I hadn't seen it, because they cut out a lot, or if I would have just not liked it at all, because if I didn't have the context of the anime. But I enjoyed it.
I love all the No Mercy popping up in the chat. Strike hard, strike fast, or strike first, no mercy. Cobra Kai never dies. Somebody's like quoting 300. No, movie clip central. No.
Do we? That's on Netflix now, Cobra Kai, right?
Yes. Yeah, you can watch it.
Maybe I'll watch it this weekend. Maybe.
I highly recommend it. I think it's a lot of fun. I really think you will be closer. You're more likely to like season 1 than you are season 2, because it exactly what you were saying about whatever the Once a Gangster. It subverts in season number 1 that everything is fresh and cool and fun, and then in season 2 it leans so hard into being the thing that it loses a lot of what made the first one so like unique. I love the second season too, though. Like, I'm big time fan of the series.
It just seemed like something kind of mindless that I can watch while like taking care of my daughter. Like, I don't have to be glued to the screen. Yes. So maybe I'll put it on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think you'll like Johnny Lawrence's character. William Zabka. Yeah. It's just cool to see, because you're probably familiar with the internet video where it was like Daniel LaRusso was the villain the whole time.
Yeah. I love those films growing up. I haven't seen them since I was, maybe 12, but I love them.
Well, guys, that was our thoughts on this week's movie book club discussion. I didn't see a whole lot. Are we going to pick a new
movie now, or are we going to do it in Discord?
We'll do it. Yeah, we'll find. We will talk about this. Okay, so while we're on the line, it's all right. I'm trying to find a way that everything works in synergy with each other, and that there's some sort of reason for everything. Now, that is very broad, but what I'm trying to say is, like, how does Once a Gangster tie into something else, right? I was thinking, because it's Halloween right now and I'm going to be doing movie reviews every week, wouldn't it help synergy to have a discussion based on the movies that get reviewed separately?
Yeah, I mean, I think doing nothing but horror films for the next couple of weeks, I think is a great idea.
Okay. That's kind of where my brain was at, and it's fine. I would be curious to hear what everybody thinks going into that. I also like the idea of letting the Discord community vote. That said, they've got a great little movie club that's already going on. Maybe we could hitch our wagon to that and just watch whatever movie they're watching that week. But then it's like, if it's Misery, that's awesome. I love Misery. I know they watched it a couple days ago. How does that work with the algorithm? Is that something I should be worried about? I mean, these are the kind of things that it's just a lot.
Like the ultimate goal should be something that neither of you or me has seen.
Yeah, you're right about that. That would, okay. Yeah, 100%. It would be dumb for me to be like, yeah, 100%. If I'm going to make you watch anything, it's going to be Game of Thrones, and we're going to do it for tens of thousands of views, and I'm going to call it My Boy Watches.
Game of Thrones?
Yeah. Man, it's just a huge commitment.
Westworld, everyone tells me.
It's just a huge, huge commitment. There's so much of it. But, all right, guys, thank you all very much for coming and hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Hopefully the chat wasn't too toxic. We're going to have to assess whatever that situation was and try to make sure that it stays positive and happy in here. But it looks like the community has worked it out for the most part, which is awesome. If you have any thoughts or ideas about how we pick movies going forward in the movie club, we would love to hear them. And make sure that you tune in by subscribing, clicking the little bell to enable notifications. That way you can know every time a new video gets dropped. In addition to that, you can stay up to date with all of the other terrible content that has already been published on the channel. And if you want to be a part of the Discord server, that's Movies Are Terrible. We got all sorts of stuff going on, guys. Just trying to make sense of it, get everything back on track, because it's been a hectic week. But as you can see, I'm set back up in the office. Let me just destroy the illusion right there real quick. Hey, back in the studio. Caleb, I appreciate you hanging out, man. I think it was a good suggestion. I enjoyed Once a Gangster, even if I'm the only person on the earth.
Hey, it's a success then.
Random Andy's channel, Misery is a masterpiece. It's a pretty damn good movie.
I love it.
It's a pretty good movie.
Pretty solid.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, thank you very much. And on behalf of both of us, and until next time, be terrible.